listeners are as important as our guests. Join in on the conversation. 504-341-8255, the New Orleans Talk Network. Nobody gives you better conversation about your quality of life.
Let everyone know you listen to
The New Orleans Talk Network.
Well, good morning, folks. Caught me whipping through here. I hope you'll excuse. I got my old hat on today. That, if you don't realize why, we'll tell you in a second. I'm not trying to be rude, but I always keep my hat, one of my hats, on the table, if not on my chrome dome here. Anyway, welcome back. It's New Orleans Talk Network, of course. Wednesday's Bob Variety Hour. It's the break, the hump day, the middle of the week. And this is, of course, our first Saturday, I'm lost, first Wednesday of the month, May 2nd. And as I mentioned, I've got my hat on because we're in the middle of one of New Orleans' largest festivals. Besides Mardi Gras, it's called the Jazz and Heritage Festival, bringing in nearly 500,000 people over 2 weekends and weekdays. So we've had a magnificent weekend last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the Jazz Fest reopens tomorrow, Thursday, for locals, even though it's open to everyone local. That's called Local Day, so all of us natives and residents go out that day when the crowds will be a little bit less because people are either working or having come in from out of town. Unfortunately, the Jazz Fest has a history because of our climate of maybe having one of the weekends dampened by the weather. And unfortunately, the prognosis might be 1 or 2 days of this weekend. We hope that doesn't materialize because last weekend was spectacular. We had a great lineup of musicians, had a lot of local, and I think was featuring Sting and Lionel Richie. By this week, I think the big rock and roll group is like Aerosmith or something like that. But anyway, for those who've never heard about Jazz and Heritage Fest, tremendous festival with regard to not only all types of music. There's numerous stages from gospel to rock and roll to celebrities. There's a tremendous number of a lot of restaurants from local or mom and pop-up shops able to feed you. There's beautiful merchandise, painters, clothing. I forgot the Zulu. Just a tremendous draw. So if you've never heard about it or never been to New Orleans, and you like music, of course, the important thing is whether you like music or not, you'll be able to see our usually great weather and magnificent food and architecture and culture here in the city. So enough for the PR. And in conjunction with that, when we come back and we do our break, we do our raffle, we'll be announcing last week's winner of the prize that was related to the Jazz Fest. We have a new raffle prize too as well. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and we want to welcome our chef. Today, as we said, the first Wednesday of the month is always, we call it Chef's Chat USA, where we bring our domestic United States chefs to meet you all and to show their fare. Because we feel we're the center of the universe, certainly in the United States for food, but we want to show how great these other chefs are doing all over the nation. So the nation's not suffering from a food drought or stuff. It's just that we have so many diverse types of food here that's why we're such a big draw. But I want to go ahead and welcome to the show. There you go. You see his picture. The gentleman's name is Chef James T. Uses the middle initial, Canter, C-A-N-T-E-R. Welcome, James.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Thank you this morning.
We appreciate you dedicating your time with us. And let's go ahead and tell the folks a little bit about you're in Texas, but you're not, right now you're situated in San Antonio, I believe, but I think you're headquartered someplace else. Let's give a brief bio to everyone about, how you came about into what you're doing today. Can you hear me, James?
Yeah, it cut out for a second, but
okay.
I got you back.
All we're asking you to do is tell the folks, where were you born, where were you raised, and then how you got into the culinary field and how you got to the place where you are today.
Sure, I'd love to. I was born in Elkton, Maryland, a small town off one of the tributaries of the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland.
Well, how the heck did you wind up in Texas? That doesn't make sense. Huh?
Like a lot of people say, I'm not from Texas, but I hurried up as fast as I could to get here.
Very good, very good. Go ahead. Go ahead, tell us more.
I was raised in a very food-forward family. A lot of my early influences were from my grandmother and my mother.
Those are the best.
Was a deputy sheriff. She was a deputy sheriff in the little town jail there. There were 3 cells in the jail. My grandfather was deputy sheriff also, and you know, my mom would go out on date night on Saturday night with Dad, and they'd leave me at the grandparents' house. Well, Sunday morning, before my grandmother made this big breakfast spread for everybody to come and eat, she would have to go down to jail and cook for the drunks in the drunk tank for Saturday night. So I'd go down with her, and it was the same folks in the drunk cells from the night before. And rumor had it that people would literally get locked up Saturday night so they could have my mamaw's breakfast Sunday morning, her biscuits.
Well, it sounds, a lot of our grandmothers were like that, and so the family loves it and the outside appreciate it. So I can understand, and I think it's a great story. Well, let's move a little further till you got into the why you got into it, other than those great roots that you had.
Well, it started, my uncle and family owned a seafood restaurant and seafood market there in that small town, and they had a professional chef from the Culinary Institutes of America in New York. And during summers, pretty much she was my babysitter. My mom worked in the prep kitchen, but I kind of milled around the restaurant and seafood market and kind of watched her. So that's kind of where I got my original roots, I think. But you know, as I got older, I got more and more interested in you know, the whole philosophy behind food, not just its nourishment and something we had to do, but like the reason, you know, how it brought people together and how it connects us all through common thread and common bonds. And it's a global thing, you know. It's I got very interested in that, and when I got out of high school, I was to either go to pursue marine biology or go to culinary school, and I'm definitely afraid of sharks. So I said, I'll take the flames and the heat and the knives any day over a shark. So I ended up enrolling in a small culinary program in Florida, which I had moved since Elkton when I was 13, transplanted to Clearwater Beach, Tampa Bay, Florida. And I entered a small culinary program there, and about 5 months into it, I asked my teachers if I could enter a competition. It was an American Culinary Federation sanctioned hot foods competition.
Uh-huh.
And they said no. They said it's for advanced students, and I went anyway and ended up winning.
All right.
I was intermediate classes, so I was offered an apprenticeship at the Omni Hotel there in Tampa through a very amazing master chef at the time, and he was with the culinary Disney Culinary Olympic team and international ice carving champion, blah blah, which was amazing. I learned a lot there, so I ended up doing that in conjunction with my schooling, and found out I was learning way more on the job and making money doing it. So I dropped out. So yes, I'm a twice culinary school dropout.
Oh wait, when did you get to Texas?
Well, okay, so fast forward, 19, I hit traveling around the country, Alaska, Tijuana, LA, San Francisco, Montana, North Carolina, all the above, just traveling, cooking, and pretty much skateboarding too. And I've been doing it for years. And then about 2009, I opened up the first museum cafe in Florida at the Museum of Fine Arts in St. Petersburg, Florida, and it came with some great accolades and all the above. And me and the GM had a falling out. God bless her heart. She decided for us to go our own separate ways, and I was up for some national awards at the time, and I lost all that because of me basically being let go. But economic downturn, happened in 2008, 2009 with the housing market in Florida,
It
and I
stopped.
couldn't find a job to save my life.
So I can't.
So I took some time off.
Okay, we need to
my
speed
wife
up.
about to have our-
All right, we need to go a little further. We hadn't even got you to Texas. I thought I was going to get you to Texas, but you went back to Florida.
I'm going right now.
Okay.
So me and my wife are about to have some kids, and we couldn't take care of ourselves. We were destitute in Florida, so we got a job offer in South Texas on the border.
Got it.
So we took the job. And
Okay.
that was not Texas for about 9 to 10 years now, and we've
Okay.
lived in. This is our third place of living in Texas.
Okay. Now let's get it up to present. If I understood correctly, you had a restaurant per se, a brick and mortar in San Antonio. Was that correct?
Well, I had a brick and mortar. It was in Victoria, Texas.
Oh, that was in Victoria. Okay. So you moved up to with the big boys to San Antonio. But
I sure did. I sure did.
But you also abandoned the brick and mortar for the current trend, meaning a food truck. Is that correct?
Well, yes, and no. What happened? I opened up the food truck first in Victoria.
Right.
And
okay.
just to test
Let's.
the market.
All right, that's all right. But right now, again, we're going a little long on the bio. So right now, you're running a food truck. I believe it's called Guerrilla Gourmet or Guerrilla Cooking, Guerrilla Gourmet.
Yes.
But you're operating it in San Antonio. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
We're here at the Charity Bar.
Okay.
Right next to the Alamo Dome in San Antonio.
All right. Well, let's not get them too many names, and we'll get people confused, except for the people who know you. So, anyway, you're using someone else's site, and you're anchored your truck there. And in your promotion, we showed a picture of a beautiful red truck and nice logo. All right. Well, you've done a good job. Like I say, I'm sorry to rush you along, but, we've got a limited show. And, of course, the main thing here, we want to know you. We also want to know your food. So what we're going to do now, it's just about time for our break. So we're going to go ahead and get our break out of the way and come back, show the people last week's winner of the raffle, what we got to offer them this week, how to raffle. And then we're going to come back and actually start and show the people your first plate. Okay? So
Yes, sir. I hope I won.
So stand by. I'm sorry to tell you you did not. That doesn't mean you can't win. We've had chefs win, so your name is in there. Okay, it just wasn't pulled for this week. So so let's go ahead and take our break, folks, and we'll see you on the other side. We're back. Talk What You Know returns on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. We got a brand new co-host by the name of Bob B. And hey, that's me. Also, we got some new features. We're going to be giving away, have a weekly raffle of prizes. There are multiple ways for you to win, and there's a bevy of prizes. So we need you to come on back, join us on Wednesday mornings at 8 o'clock for Talk What You Know on the New Orleans Talk Network.
What's up, readers and shakers? It's your girl, Rhonda M. Lawson, sending you a personal invite to the Literary Lounge. Tune in to Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions each Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for the best in literary conversation. Each week, a different author will join us to talk to their most important readers, you. You can also call in to ask your own questions. So don't forget, each Wednesday at 7 p.m., join us in the lounge for Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions. See you there.
Hi, Hi, I'm Evangelist Melanie Pichon. Listen, I'd like to invite you to view our Forgive and Talk show every Thursday from 11 a.m. Central Standard Time until 12 noon. We talk about issues. We talk about challenges. We talk about those things really that other folks don't want to talk about. Listen, if you want to talk about something, if you want to give us some suggested ideas, comment below and we'll do our best to get at you. Remember, every Thursday from 11 a.m. Central Standard Time until 12 noon, the Forgive and Talk show.
Nobody gives you better conversation about your quality of life.
Let everyone know you listen to
The New Orleans Talk Network.
That's right, folks. You're watching Bob B on Bob's Variety Hour, the New Orleans Talk Network. And as you know, when we come back from break, we always do our raffle. And as we said, this was our Jazz Fest raffle, and we're proud to announce, we always try and put our Facebook announcement out around midnight of the day. We did, I think, a little early, around 11 last night. But we want to go ahead and show the lucky winner and what she won. And we want to congratulate Miss Peggy Denley. She's a receptionist in a local insurance, a very prominent agent, Martin Insurance here. And she's won the magazine, which comes it's kind of special. It's a limited edition Jazz Fest Gala. The gala is the very expensive per seat dinner and performance by some of the artists in a concert venue at a hotel locally the night before it opens, which would be a week ago last Thursday night, which we were privileged to be invited to go to. And so as part of that, they give you a wonderful souvenir booklet they print. I think you can buy it. I don't know if they give it to you free at the Jazz Fest or not. But what's good about it, it not only gives you a beautiful picture, cover picture this year is dedicated to Fax Domino, who just passed away, unfortunately, our local legend. And one of his local artists had done a rendition of him that's very familiar, and it's on the cover of the magazine. In addition to that, other pictures of local celebrities and people who are going to be at the gives complete information. Who's going to be where, what day, the stage. And also, it's nice, has a list, 2-page list of coupons for buying things at the fair. Like mainly, a lot of course, is the vendors' food, but I think it's other. So, Peggy, hopefully you get a chance to use it sometime between tomorrow and Sunday. Or if not, if you can't make it, then go ahead and give it to someone else. All right. Now, what about this week? This week we've got your choice. This would be for a young lady, this kind of special. We have one is, putting it on the screen, one is a miniature frame. I don't know if Mike's got that. If not, I see him focusing on the, maybe he's got it together. Is that it? My eyes are bad, but it's a I've got it here too as well, if you can see it. It's a miniature portrait frame. It's all done in rhinestones, mainly pinks and purples with a little flower. So cute for a little girl to put her own picture, or you all to put in by her bedside, or a young girl, or maybe an adult. I guess the colors would make it a little more gender, even though I'm being sexist. The other thing is, if you'd rather, for the young lady, it's and now you'll see a good shot of it there, it's like a pearl little bracelet with a bow. I guess somebody said it's for the ankle. I said, I have no idea. I just can't model it for you, which I know you'd love to see because I would break it. But anyway, so all you have to do is remember what our registrations is one-time registration. We're not like all those other stations. You don't have to call. You don't have to renew. You register from the first time we're on the show and you're in the pot. Okay, and you're in as long as we run the raffle, which hopefully will be as long as we're on. And the way to register is either on our website, there's a special box, but regardless, we want you to send an email to this address. It's bob@rrreview, of course, .com. We don't have .com, but you got to have a dot to get an email address. So bob@rrreview, and we'll learn more about that as we introduce some of our new shows. So it's spelled RREVUE, not IEW. All right, and if you give us 3 things. 1, your full name, first and last name. Don't have to be like our chef here. You don't have to give us your middle initial. Your email address, so we can contact you to tell you you've won, to see if you won it, because we do get some people, maybe a man or something wins and doesn't want this. And lastly, your zip code, so we know what area of the city, of the state, or the nation, because we have international you're calling from. You're registering. You do that once, and then you just got to sit back, either follow the show or watch for announcement of the winner, and then of course we'll be contacting you before we even put the announcement out, and you let us know whether you won it or not. Okay? All right, good. We finished the work till the next break. We're bringing back to you our chef today, Chef du jour, Canter, and he's in San Antonio, Texas, with his beautiful food truck. It's not in the background, unfortunately. Red food truck, I believe called Guerrilla Gourmet. Cute, double G, and it's a cute name. All right. We kind of did a pretty good job, I think, on your bio. At least you did, James. Let's,
Thank you.
if you're ready, can we go ahead and let's take a look at your first picture? You can tell us what you. I love that. A while back, or maybe a long time ago, chefs started naming, or at least the marketers would name dishes. Unfortunately, it's gotten really out of hand, whereby everybody's just naming a relative, a dish by a relative. It was one restaurant I did several years ago. I told them, look, I'm not going to do you because people are going to be confused. You have everybody's name under the sun on every dish, so they won't know one from another. In the old days, it was named after a particular person because it was the celebrated dish, not every dish on the menu. But this first, and what I like about yours, and not all of you have such names, but like this very first one we're showing, you've actually taken a name, not a person's name, but a cliche, a song title that is very apropos for the dish. And it's called Heart and Soul, with soul being spelled like the city in Korea, because we're talking about a Korean dish, and the heart is literally as it speaks. So go ahead and let's take a look at this great picture and tell us more about it. But congratulations on the name of it. I like it a lot.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, the dish is called Heart and Soul, like you said, Bob. And a little background, my wife is half Korean, and my mother-in-law is a Korean chef from Fairfax, Virginia. So there's a lot of Korean influence in my food. And this here, I love beef heart. It's a very unused, or a least used cut of beef.
Right.
And it's fairly inexpensive still. So I like to use those types of things and try to elevate the cut. So this here is basically inspired by Korean flavors of Cowboy, which is basically a marinade of sesame oil, scallions, garlic, ginger, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of heat there. Whatever you use, you can either use Korean chili or regular, regular chilies, whatever. But this here is beef heart. It's been thinly sliced. It's been trimmed up, thinly sliced, and that's key to tenderness. You have to cut it super thin, and then you get a quick char on the heart there. What I did is I cooked it with a blowtorch, and then I placed it on the plate after it had been marinating for about 4 hours, and then I adorned it with all the flavors and all the accoutrements that you see on there, like sesame seeds. I put a little fresh dill from the garden. Tomatoes are from the garden. Purple radish is from a local farm here.
Right.
And then, you have this great flavors in there. I love the dish. I love Cowboy anyway.
Okay. I think it's great. Like I said, I think you explained the most important thing is slicing it so thin. You got to get over also a lot of people's concern for internal organs. So I guess in one respect, this is one way you might not want to advertise it other than in the name, the cute name, where people don't automatically associate it with the particular organ, because there could be some people who have reservations. Let's move on to our next one, which is another organ, but obviously a lot more popular, well known, and that is chicken livers. What are you doing here with this great colorful sun background chicken liver dish?
Well, what we do is put in our typical fry breading, which is Zatarain's fry mix and a few other little ingredients. And
good for using local.
Yes. And we take the livers and we soak them in buttermilk for about an hour, and then we fry them in peanut oil so they get nice and crispy and get a little darkness to them for flavor. And then we mix it with we top it with a Thai vinaigrette and adorn it with some toasted peanuts, some sesame, and we eat it in lettuce wraps like bo sam, which is another Korean or
Vietnamese.
Southeast Asian inspired way of eating. So it's basically a lettuce cup with a fried chicken liver in it with a little bit of Thai flavor.
Yeah, you got almost Pan-Asian there, the Korean, the Vietnamese Korean wrap, and then the Thai seasoning. So that sounds like a real winner. Now let's move on a little bit more, and this time let's take a look at what we're doing. And I think this is taking our specialty here, oysters and fried oysters, but you're putting them with kind of an Asian cowboy Western influence. Tell us about this.
So once again, Korean inspired. We have a little bit of fresh kimchi on the bottom of the bowl, which is basically a cabbage that's been tossed in spices and seasonings and put to ferment in a Korean chili paste. So we do a fresh version of it. All the vegetables are locally grown. We take the Gulf oysters, we soak them in buttermilk also. Those are from about 30 minutes from my house, right out of the Gulf Coast. And we take those oysters and we fry them up in the peanut oil, and we place them on top of the kimchi, and we spread a little bit of what that sauce on the bowl is. We call it a Korean Cowboy sauce, and it's basically a barbecue sauce, bring it in Texas, with Korean flavors, fermented chili called gochujang, which is very typical ingredients. It's gained some popularity these days with the chefs. You see it on a lot of the menus. And then we got a little Japanese mayo on there and some fresh basil varieties from my garden.
Well, remind me, if we have time, even though we probably won't going through the dishes, to talk about fermentation, because you're directly involved with it. You mentioned it with kimchi. At the end of this, if we have time at the end, I'd like to spend a couple of minutes on that, because I think you're associated with something along those lines which is close to my heart. All right, now let's take it something that we would automatically assume would be one of the Texas and Mex situations. That's a taco, but you've never seen a taco like this, guys. Go ahead, James. Tell us about your beautiful taco here.
Okay. Well, this here, this was for an event called the Taste of the Republic, and it's basically the opening event for the Fiesta celebrations here in San Antonio. Fiesta's like our Mardi Gras. It's a week and a half, 2-week-long festival celebrating our 300th year of the city of San Antonio. But it's basically I represented the Piney Woods region of Texas, which is up towards y'all, right there. So we naturally did some research and found that pork was a prominent barbecue meat that they used up in that area instead of beef, which is normally what Texans, that's the holy grail of Texas barbecue. It's beef brisket. We use pork because it's predominant there. So we did a 12-hour smoke on a pork shoulder, and then we pulled it and tossed it with a house barbecue sauce, and then we put it on what the bottom of that is a hoe cake. It's basically a cornmeal pancake, and we topped it with some pecans that had been kind of macerated, I suppose, in local mesquite honey with a little bit of Tabasco from your nape of the woods. So we're calling this one a Redneck Taco.
All right. I like that. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a great look, as well as something we wouldn't expect if we saw a taco down here. And, of course, we're not known for our tacos, even though they've invaded. I have to say, the food truck business has been an invasion of tacos. Whether they serve anything else, seems like everyone has a version on taco. Now, the next one, we have a lot of course, with healthy eaters today, and more people going vegetarian or vegan or pescatarian. And we've got a little vegan specialty, which you wouldn't normally find from a restaurant or a food truck like yourself. So let's go ahead and talk about this dish, because I know it'll please those who are shying away from the meat.
Okay. Well, this here, little background. I cooked for a vegan family of triathletes for about a year, and I also lived in San Francisco and was known for my vegan and vegetarian food. So I always try to put something on our menu that will follow those criteria. But this here is local beets that have been grown this season. What we did, we roasted them off, and then we sliced them, and we did 2 different varieties of slice for texture, and we pickled the ones with the little ridges in a nice pickling brine, and then the other ones we kind of just tossed with a little olive oil, salt, and pepper, and wedged them up. And what we're doing here is this is This is called We Got the Beets. It's basically fried beets, two varieties, tossed with some fresh green beans and some other little sauces there. And, you like fried pickles, you'd love fried beets.
Excellent, excellent. Now, we got to move on a little more because we're getting close to our next break. You got something here that's going to touch all our hearts. Now, we're real suspicious of people when they say gumbo and they're not from New Orleans. I know you're using a lot of our flavors. But let's talk about this, and this is a duck gumbo, which is, just relished here. So let's talk about what you're doing with it, because I know you're going to meet with a lot of skepticism here in our New Orleans community. But go ahead and tell us what you're doing.
Well, this here is a duck, a smoked duck, and oyster gumbo with a ton of seafood in it. And I've been making gumbo for years, since I was about 17. We do gumbo. We're kind of trickle down from New Orleans, Florida and Texas. We get those same influences. But I had a gentleman work for me a few years back, and his family was from Jeanneret, Louisiana.
There you go.
And I gave him this project, New Orleans-fy my gumbo a little bit more, and he went to his family and his grandmother, and this is basically, we base our dish on their family recipe, and it's a very unique way we make this, and this is how his family's been making it for generations. And we don't make our roux typical of New Orleans roux. What we do is we take flour, take regular all-purpose flour, and we put it on a pan, and we brown it off in the oven to desired smell, aesthetics.
Did you say in the oven?
Yeah, we cook the flour off in the oven till it gets dark rich, like Texas red dirt, but darker. And what we do is we sear off all of our proteins and all of our vegetables in on a separate pot, and then we put it all in the pot with our stock. And once that comes up to a certain temperature and a boil, we season it accordingly and put all players in the bath. And then we'll have a little bit of a fat cap on the top of that from the residual fat from the sausage and proteins and all that. And what we do is we stir that flour in on top of that, and that creates the roux from the top down. That way you don't get a greasy gumbo, and you can control those dark, rich flavors without burning it with a regular roux. Now, his family used to put a whole egg in there to stretch the proteins. We do that too. We'll serve it with a whole egg already cooked into it, a whole egg.
Okay.
Told by a lot of New Orleanites that we have one of the best gumbos outside of New Orleans, and can stand on its own two legs in the city as well.
Well, I'm telling you,
Cool.
what you're going to have to do is to prove that to us, and then see if you can come next year. No, what I'm saying is next year we have a lot of gumbo in all of our festivals, but there's a particular festival that's held downtown New Orleans for the support of the United Way that is specifically a gumbo festival. And okay. I'm not sure if they allow outsiders, but I'll find out. Of course, I can't afford to fly you over here, drive, but maybe you can work it out that you can get in there and then you'll be going head to head with some of the finest gumbo chefs here in the city and from the state. And I think it's something we would love to try because they have different winnings, not just traditional, but experimental gumbos, different flavor, Caribbean. So I know you'd fit in there somewhere. I'd love to be able to taste it myself personally. And that's the only way I can think of right now that I'd get to taste it. Okay, James, we're doing great, but we've really got time on our shoulders here. So we need to take our break. When we come back, and we'll do the last 6 items, okay? See you in about 2 minutes, folks. Take care.
Sounds great.
Michael.
Listen up. Your customers Our listeners could be hearing about your business right now. Yeah, right now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to advertise with NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Call our business department today at 504-475-4793 to hear about our great rates. NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. We provide the people, you provide the business.
Are you looking for a home to live stream your next event? Give us a call here at Bethesda Community Event Center, the only place on the Gulf Coast that can host and broadcast live your wedding reception, your baby shower, business seminar, and any other special event. Give us a call at 504-708-9454 for more details.
Happy Merry Mondays. It's your girl, Mary J. I want you to tune in with me to Real Talk with Mary J on New Orleans Talk Network every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Then follow me to blogtalkradio.com/Real Talk with Mary J at 10 p.m. It's going to be a Merry Monday every Monday at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. You've just tuned into New Orleans Talk Network.
Hi, I'm Sheriff Joe Lapinto, and you are watching the New Orleans Talk Network.
Your quality of life.
Let everyone know you listen to
The New Orleans Talk Network.
That's right, boys and girls. It's the New Orleans Talk Network, and it's Bob B. back on Bob B's Variety Hour. This is the first Wednesday of the month. And you know, on that day, we do bring to you live chefs from around the states. And we're pleased to have this morning Chef James T. Canter. And he's originally in Texas and been headquartered in Texas, and actually has his food truck located in San Antonio, Guerrilla Gourmet. We've got about halfway through, but we're hoping to be able to finish the last 6 dishes, so that way you can really get a feel. He's got a lot of different influences from his spouse's family, being Korean, the Texas, the barbecue kind of concept, and using even New Orleans, not only seasonings, but some of their flavors, like the last thing, picking up on our gumbo. And hopefully it's good, even though we New Orleanians, when we go outside and see a gumbo, if we taste it, it's usually not that. So I'm not denying, but I'm challenging to see if we can get him in a local competition to see if he can win a prize in one of the specialties. All right, well, I'm gonna contact the folks and we'll make it happen. All right, okay. James, welcome back. Now let's go ahead and start our next dish. And let's see, I've forgotten. Tell us what it is. I forgot to look at what it is. What are we doing now? You got it?
Okay, so this here was a dish that I did for charity. It's called it's basically a sous vide preparation, which sous vide means under pressure. What it is, it's shrimp that's been poached in a airtight bag at a very highly controlled water bath temperature in an immersion circulator, which kind of circulates the water bath at a temperature that cooks the shrimp slowly and accurately. But this is a pork butter poached Gulf shrimp. It's got a little bit of a beet and apple cider yogurt on the bottom. Has a little bit of everything bagel seasoning, and also ground shrimp powder to accentuate the flavor of the shrimp. And then we have some of the little greens and decoration are all grown on my 2-acre farm in Victoria.
Excellent. Well, we love shrimp over here, and I have to admit, you've got a beautiful plate there. So it's a little Japanese looking, and it's plating, but sounds excellent, really good, and we know we'll appreciate the shrimp. Now, the next dish is so pretty, it really looks like a dessert. Now, once again, our vegetarians or our vegans, I think, will welcome this, and for those of us who eat meat, we shouldn't turn our noses at it. I love vegetables, I really do, and that's not always the case with our carnivores. But I think this is so attractive. This at bite size, it looks, maybe that's plate deceptive, but I think we can get more and more people to try this. Tell us what we're putting on the plate here, James.
Okay, so this was a little appetizer that we did for an event for charity. And once again, we do a lot of charity work. But this is a marble potato that's been cooked Canary Island style, and basically it's cooked in a saline water solution that's made to mimic salt water, the ocean. So you cook these potatoes in this salt water, and you take it down to all the water is completely boiled out till your pan is dry. And what happens, these potatoes get this beautiful salt crust on them that it's so delicious. When you bite in that really salty exterior, and you get the creaminess of the potato inside. So we cut those in half. We topped it with a little locally made goat cheese from Thompson Dairy down in South Texas. We got a little bit of a spicy chili jam over top of that, and a little bit of a fresh herb on top of that, and that's it. Just a punch to your mouth with flavor.
Excellent. Like I said, it really is attractive and great as an appetizer, but also still think might have a little sweetness for the dessert. Now the next one is really close to home, because you're looking at something that, you know, what we consider deli meat for years has gone out of, it's reminiscence of the 50s and the 60s when home folk only ate basically deli meat for mainstay. And what's coincidental about this is that this particular meat, we have a local restaurant that opened a little bit over a year now, but in its first year, it was an old-time gasoline station, for those who know what that is. It's just a little block building with 2 blocks, columns supporting the overhang where the gas tanks used to be. It was converted to one restaurant, didn't do as well. Now it's done, and it's mainly sandwiches, but it's really retro style. When you go in, it's all the old-time tablecloths and decorations. And their claim to fame was taking a little different, fried bologna sandwiches, okay, with Band-Aids. And even though it's disdained by a lot of our folk here, once you go back, either old-time memories or the flavor. So you've taken something that has been really put way far in the back burner for the most place, and that's bologna, but you're not doing it our style. Tell us what you're doing here, but it's very, 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 very vogue, very current trending now.
Well, I grew up on bologna sandwiches. It's one of the first things my mom taught me how to cook.
There you go.
But my dad's folks live up in the mountains, and you go to any of those little general stores and get you a fresh cut slab of bologna, however thick you want it, with cheese, and that was your lunch. But this here, we take a whole roll of bologna, beef bologna, and we smoke it over mesquite for a couple hours and get some nice smoke on it, and then we chill it back down. And then when we get in order, we sear it on our flat top, and we melt a whole gob of cheese on it, and we toast our bread with a little bit of beef fat and butter mix, and then we go ahead and toast that up, put the cheese on that, and then put the seared bologna on top of that, and you got yourself a fried bologna and cheese sandwich, smoked bologna.
Well, I tell you, this is one that really should make the rounds, because for us with a little age on us, although you're not that old, who reminisce back to those days of sandwich for lunch, whether it's at school, etc. And of course, we probably didn't have the luxury of having it fried or smoked like yours. It would usually just be straight from the slicer. At the same time, it did, even though it was relegated as not real meat, had a wonderful flavor that just really is typical America. So I think this is a dish you should really be proud of. Not that your others, as far as I'm concerned, are very upscale compared to the traditional trucks that are running around our streets today. So I think you've got the portability, but you're also giving a level of food, even though taking it a step level above. Now the next one is very important to us, because we're a big seafood city, getting so much right there from the Gulf. Crabs. Now this is Viet crab. Now I want Vietnamese flavor, and I guess it's a different style. I have to admit, we just came with a restaurant in New Orleans that I did not care for, and it had regular traditional boiling of seafood and also Vietnamese. And the crawfish, which we do extensively, had all the seasoning on the outside. It was all greasy, and it just really wasn't as interesting as it was portrayed. This looks totally different, looks like a true crab dish, and I want you to tell us specifically about what you're doing there, because it really is a nice looking attribute to the crab.
Well, what we're doing, we're preparing fresh Gulf crab we get from the docks about 30 minutes from my house, and we take those crabs and we steam them American style, like I grew up with at my uncle's restaurant. We take them and we put a little bit of Budweiser, a little bit of vinegar in the bottom of a steamer and some water, and then we take those crabs and we put it layer by layer. So we get one layer and we douse it with a very, very liberal amount of Old Bay seasoning, and then we cook them off like that. We continue those layers and cook them off like that till they're done. But then when they come out, what I do is I take the carapace off, the top part. I get all that crab mustard and fat in there, and I reserve that for the sauce. And then I just when I go to make this dish, I make a garlic butter with a little bit of fish sauce, garlic, some ginger, and some onion, and then I go flavors down, and I add that crab fat to it and all them stuff we reserved from the carapace, and then we go ahead and toss our crab. We steam them again to order just to get them hot, bring them up to temperature, and then we toss them in that garlic butter and top them with a bunch of Thai or Vietnamese herbs, mainly Vietnamese. Now, here along the Gulf Coast, you have a large Vietnamese population, so you get all this mishmash of Texas, Gulf Coast, Creole kind of stuff going on, and this is inspired by that.
I think you did a great job because, again, we know about the tremendous, especially all along the Gulf, because we have a huge population since Vietnam of Vietnamese settlers and great fishermen, great restaurateurs, great pastry chefs, and are doing a great thing. So you have combined the three of the local Gulf, using the Gulf product, and doing it in a Vietnamese style. So I think it's really a pretty tribute. It's not like sitting down and eating a dozen of ball crabs, but at the same time, I think it's just as interesting. All right, now the next one is really, again, along the lines of Vietnamese. My favorite, what the Vietnamese call a banh mi, is their version of a po' boy. They make wonderful, as I said, they're great pastry chefs, bread bakers. So their bread, French bread, is different than ours. It looks the same, maybe a little smaller, but it has a different consistency. But their po' boys are also different. As we know, Vietnamese use all of their own, they grow all kinds of vegetables and all that are theirs, and they're unique in their flavor. Their names, though, they share a lot of the same names that we use, but flavorful-wise, it's tremendous. And their plentiful use of multiple greens and herbs and fresh like that to their, whether it's their sandwiches, their soups or like here, you're doing a banh mi with head cheese and sardines. Now, I tell you, my favorite is the Vietnamese pate banh mi, but I'm willing to, even though I'm not a big head cheese family, I like pates, but I'm telling you, I'm really willing to try this as well. So tell us a little bit about this, because this is very, very unique, I think, banh mi for our area anyway.
Okay. Well, this here is pretty typical of kind of the food that we eat for dinner at the house, but it's also typical of the kind of food we serve on the truck. But we got a hold of some beautiful sardines, and we just cleaned those up, and we seared them off on a flat top, and then we had some head cheese that we made out of a whole hog's head from South Texas Heritage Pork, here local pork producer, and that's on there to mimic the pate.
Right.
We served it with the pickled vegetables, basically daikon and carrot and some other little goodies in there. We tossed in a little bit of rice wine vinegar, some mirin, and some salt and some other seasonings, and then we put that on. We put the bread. The bread is it's not typical banh mi bread, but it's our local favorite. It's what we use a lot here in Texas. It's called a bolillo roll, and they're a quarter at any grocery store you can find, any little Mexican grocery store or any regular grocery store here in Texas. But we go ahead and we cook those off a little bit, and then we put our spread on the bottom, and then we put our head cheese, and then we put our sardines on there, and we got a little bit of dressed watercress, and we just love the freshness of the sandwich. So.
Well, I think you do it really good justice, and like I say, to substitute. Now, again, many times sardines are used in many places where they can't get fresh sardines to treat them right. There's a big difference between a canned sardine and a fresh sardine that you prepare. So the flavor there has got to be knockout, because I love fresh sardines. So I think it's
Me too.
Great. I think it's a great substitution with a whole different range in the flavors. But again, focusing on the Vietnamese element of the freshness of the wonderful vegetables and that herbs and stuff you're putting in there, I think it sounds dynamite. So here, I think you got another winner here. I'm just wish your truck, you open a branch truck here. And we have a new food truck park that most of the cities are doing there because food trucks have become so popular where you can either come for a weekend or locate permanently. So it's, besides all around the city, having them to the day.
Well, I'm looking for an investment.
Well, there you go. There you go. We need to. Well, we need to talk a little bit if we have time. Now, let's go ahead. We got one more dish for you folks, and then we're going to talk about a couple more subjects if we have time. And this is really something close. They have paella, which is, just a tremendous Spanish dish. And we have a couple of really good paella eateries here in New Orleans from different parts of Spain and Central America. But this one is going to knock your socks off, folks, when you hear what it is. And it's not only a paella, it's also a taco. Tell us about this. So this is a great invention here.
So we do an annual event here in San Antonio for the Culinary Institutes of America, where it's a paella festival. Our specialty actually is paella. Even though we don't do it on the truck, we have about 12 international awards for our paellas. And we do all different varieties from traditional to very unorthodox. Basically it's the granddaddy of jambalaya. People don't know that, but the Spanish influence in Louisiana, had this dish. They brought the paella and it kind of morphed into the jambalaya from what I understand. But this dish in particular is, it took third place out of 40 teams just recently. And it's a sardine and octopus paella with locally made chorizo, enough pork stock to kill a horse in there. We got some potatoes in there also. The potatoes.
How many minutes, Mike? Cut it off.
There to mimic a traditional Galician Spanish dish of octopus and potatoes. So we entered this competition in the classic category. Well, the day before we were told that we were in contemporary category, which is, I've been preparing for this dish all week, and so we had to figure out what we're going to do. So what I did with the tortilla there, we made a taco out of it in true South Texas form. So we took the prize part of the paella, which is called the socarat. It's the crispy rice on the bottom, and we made a tortilla out of it, to mimic that socarat. And we filled it with our paella that we made that you see there. A little bit of, instead of cooked down sofrito, which is the base of the dish, which is onions, peppers, garlic, tomato, we did a sofrito pico de gallo. So it's a fresh preparation of sofrito. And that's what we served with the octopus, the paella, in a rice tortilla, and the sofrito pico de gallo. So that was our answer to the problem of going from classic to contemporary in 24 hours. Well,
I think what you've proven to our audience is that you can be on a truck, but you also can be versatile. You don't have like just 3, 4, and even though not every one of these, as you mentioned, is on, it shows the level of sophistication you've had from your background that you've developed early on and are willing to compete in charities or wherever to show how much you can do with so much variety. And that is just a real tribute, because too many of our restaurants are narrowing the menu because it's so complicated to be able to put out so much stuff. So it's kind of weird where the customers are demanding more, but the vendors want to provide less. Now, real quick, because we only have a few minutes left, we're talking about fermentation. For those, you mentioned it because you do kimchi. James is associated with another company called Magges, MAGGE', which specializes in fermentation. And he does a kimchi, he'll tell us real quickly. But my favorite, he's developed a Bloody Mary mix fermented with a piece of celery in there. As you all know, I drink a virgin Bloody Bull, but I've supplemented it now, and it comes with regular and spicy. So what you do is let him talk a little bit about it. Can't do a full commercial because this is a freebie here. But at the same time, I want you to look it up online. And if you're interested in healthy stuff or interesting stuff, tremendous variety. He's got more and more products coming online. So go ahead real quickly. Tell us about your fermentation.
Yeah, so coming from a Korean background or influence with my family, I've always loved Korean food anyway. But there's a lot of fermentation in Korean food. They have multiple varieties of this kimchi, which is basically the main kimchi star of the whole kimchi family is the cabbage kimchi with the Napa cabbage, and basically it's a salted cabbage head. You salt it to draw out all the water, and then you rinse it and pat it dry, and then you make a paste out of Korean chilies that have been fermented once again, which they're dry aged at room temperature to increase the natural yeasts and bacteria in there to help with the fermentation. So once you take that cabbage or whatever vegetable you're going to do, you coat it in that paste between the leaves, and then you put it into a tightly packed jar, and you leave it on your counter for as long as you like, with no less than a week. But what's great about kimchi, you can kimchi anything.
Right.
And stepping away from the traditional, Korean version, you're seeing so many creative kimchis these days. Now, I used to make my own, but there's a company literally about 2 blocks from here, Madge's, that does a great job with their kimchi, and they're absolutely phenomenal. And they do this Bloody Mary mix; it's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, I go up to Alabama and I do a charitable event, the Alabama Oyster Cook-Off Weekend, and the first year we entered our Bloody Mary to the.
Okay, I'm sorry, James, but we're almost out of time, so I got to tell the folks goodbye. You're blessed with the long wind, but it's not good when we're on a short time situation.
It's like
but anyway, Fermented Madge's company. People don't like the big thing drawback against fermentation is the smell. I've been trying for years to get people to eat Japanese food. They love the edamame soybeans, but they won't touch natto, which is a fermented soybeans, and I love the hell of it. Anyway, we are so pleased that you've been able to honor us with your presence and tell us about your food. Again, it's Guerrilla Gourmet. Now, folks, it's not spelled like the animal, even though he uses the animal in his logo. It's spelled like the warfare, meaning Guerilla. Guerrilla Gourmet. And once again, thank you, Chef James T. Canter of now San Antonio, Texas, where his truck is. Any real quick party words? All right? We'll talk to you soon, especially about the coming here. All right, folks, thank you so much. Next week is Talk to the Tarot. We have Robin Daniels calling in and taking your calls about having your tarot read. So send me an email if you're interested, and we'll reserve a spot for you. All right, folks, take care.
Listeners are as important as our guests. Join in on the conversation.